Now, do you have any suggestions about focus? Because it's really, for me, it's all about lazy focus versus the right kind of focus.
Well,
and how to get to that strong focus is something I'd like help with.
The strongest encouragement that we would give is that we would find a way, and we'll talk about some right here, right now. We would find a way to make our emotional state of being of utmost importance. In other words, we would just remind ourselves how important it is for us to feel good. We really would like it if when you don't feel good, you would have a meltdown. Now here is just for a little bit. Do any of you meditate? Do you remember people said this to us commonly? Abraham, is it normal for all hell to break loose in my life once I begin doing this work? And we say yes, because when you begin doing this work, you begin tuning to the vibration of who you really are, which makes it really unpleasant when you're not tuned there. In other words, we want negative emotion to really stick out like a really sore thumb. And a lot of people have learned to endure enough negative emotion that it has to get really big before they feel it. And we always say, well, don't worry if you're out of whack and if you've got resistance and you don't do something about releasing the resistance, don't worry, it will get bigger. And if you still don't do something about releasing it, it will get bigger. So the answer to the question is, we would increase our sensitivity to our emotional guidance system by deliberately going to the vortex. And the easiest way that we know to teach almost anybody to raise their awareness of their vibrational frequency is daily meditation. Because when you quiet your mind, you stop thought. And when you stop thought, you stop resistance. And when you stop resistance, your vibration raises. And if you will do that every day, your sensitivity to negative emotion will become stronger, which means you'll catch it in the earlier subtle stages. Well, that's what we meant earlier when we said, by the time you feel like punching somebody's lights out, there's so much momentum going, you have little control. Or once you feel like screaming, you have very little control. It's at the thought level that you have to do it, you see.
But to some degree, the ability to focus and the ability to meditate effectively are very similar, because it's the ability to kind of not let thoughts distract
you. You're right.
You. So if you can't do one well, you're not. It's going to be.
But it's
kind of similar.
But it's the difference between here our theory behind our answer to you. It's the difference between if you've got a full-blown thought. And Abraham is saying, well, pull that punch back. You say, I'll pull it back right after I hurt this person. And so it takes much more control once it's out there into the action, or even once it's out there into the verbiage. So when you sit to meditate and you actually manage to quiet your mind, you're harnessing your power from the inside out. Now, just rest with that difference for a minute, and now we're going to address what you just said, because you're exactly right. If your thoughts are carrying you away, then it's harder to focus. But we're saying to you, the reason your thoughts are carrying you away is because they've already got some momentum going. And so at some point, you have to figure out how to break the momentum. And a nap will do it, except when you wake up, you usually pick it up pretty fast. So meditation is a much better tool. So what we encourage is finding something to focus upon. Your breathing. Esther, if isolates some sound in the room, she usually picks the air, something that's constant, some sound that's constant, and she will just focus on it. And no matter what's going on, she can feel the release of the diffusing of that thought by focusing. Now, it's boring, and she can't do it for very long, but it gives her the jump start that she needs. In other words, just focus on something. The power of meditation is thinking a thought that doesn't have much punch to it. So if you're thinking about an employer, oh man, that's loaded. If you're thinking about a lover, that's loaded. If you're thinking about money, that's loaded, because there's so much activity already in your vibration. This is a good discussion we're having, isn't it? Because we're talking about what's going on active in your vibration. And so what you're reaching for, your goal in meditation is to make something that has no resistance the most active vibration that you've got going on. That's why find a note. Even if you don't do it audibly, find a note and hold it in your mind, because you can't think about all those other things while you're change it up. Find the one that resonates most with you. Focus on the way your teeth buzz. Takes focus. You can't do that without focusing. And as you do that, then you're not focusing on other things. And it's like pulling the punches back, pulling the words back, pulling the thoughts back. The longer you do it, the more your vibration raises, until you've practiced a different frequency. Now, that's the reason that you want to meditate in a way that you don't fall asleep. Because if you fall asleep, you don't train your vibration consciously. But as you do that, the first thing that will happen is your vibration will raise, and we promise you it will make you more sensitive to emotion. It will make you feel more like having a little tantrum, which is why people say,
oh, I'm already right there. I know when I'm out of sync, and it's upsetting. I don't mean I'm about to have a tantrum. I mean, I already get when I know how I'm feeling.
But what we want you to do, you see, from inside the vortex, you on the verge of a tantrum is a good thing, not a bad thing, because it means you're sensitive to your emotion and you want to feel good. It means you know life is supposed to work for you. You know it's not supposed to get out of balance. It's supposed to feel bad when it gets out of balance. That's what this whole guidance system is about. So you want to bless your tantrum. You want to bless your negative emotion. You want to bless the fact that you're still alive and still consciously aware of the frequency differences between who you really are and all that you are, and as far as you're letting yourself be in this moment, you see. And it won't take very much of that. So what did we just accomplish here? First and foremost, the most important thing is I want to be sensitive to how I feel, because you brought it up. You said I can't focus. And you said, what would you do? And we said we'd focus on how we feel. And then you said, well, how would you do that? And we said we'd meditate.
Wait. On how I feel and I don't feel good, then how does that help? That's just focusing on what I don't
want.
We
were talking over you.
Okay, sorry. If I focus on how I feel and the way I'm feeling isn't the way I want to be feeling, then I'm focusing on what I don't want.
Yes, but you are consciously aware of it. And so now, given the discussion that we've just had, what are the conscious awarenesses that come up? Okay, if I'm consciously aware that I don't feel good, what is that information? What's that information giving me? What does that information mean? I don't feel good, which means...
Oh, I know I'm not aligned with the floor. Like you say.
I'm not in alignment with who I am.
Right.
Is that meaningful information?
Right. Well, yes.
So now, does that give you a reason to do something different? In other words, I don't feel good, which means I'm not in alignment with who I am. What will I do with that information? Do I want to be in alignment with who I am?
Oh, yes.
So can I keep this vibration alive and be in alignment with who I am?
No.
Can I think the opposite of that thought right here and now?
Generally not.
So what choice do I have? If I can't change the thought, and the thought I'm thinking is painful, then maybe I could just defocus a little. Maybe I could just distract myself. Here's a shiny balloon. In other words, you're in control of all of it. In other words, you do have you see, you started out with a very important question. And we want this discussion to come to two primary understandings. I'm supposed to feel good. Then you said, but what if I'm not sensitive about how I feel? We said, well, then we'd meditate. You said, well, if I can't focus, then I can't meditate. And we said, so you've worked it out, so you can't win.
Right.
In other words, a lot of people do that as they defend their position. It's what out of the vortex people always do. They defend being out of the vortex. It's your form of a tantrum. Seriously, defending why you can't make it work is the adult form of the tantrum, because you know it should be better.
Easier.
You know it should be easier. You know it should be effortless. Flow and ease, flow and ease, flow and ease. So when it isn't, you just sort of spin there, you see. So we sort of get down under there because everybody's been there, and we say, you got to decide two things. I care about how I feel, and I have control about how I feel, because I do have some reasonable ability to focus. I do. I have reasonable ability to focus. I can choose that over that and that over that. I make choices all day long. I certainly can choose relief over tension. I certainly can. I can choose focusing on Sometimes it's just fun to make sounds with your voice. The neighbors love it. In other words, just do anything that gets your attention. Just do anything that anything that gets your attention. Anything that gets your attention. Just make some funny noise, sing a song in your head. In other words, just get your attention. Just give your attention to something that you're choosing to give your attention to. And we promise you, you can't give your attention to something that you're choosing to give your attention to and whatever had the grips on you before. And then focus on your breathing, and then breathe.